Good morning, students. Today I am going to teach you the third chapter of your English reader book, and the name of the chapter is Taro's Reward. Students, now see the meanings of the difficult words. Chopped means cut into pieces. Cracks means narrow gaps. Sake means a Japanese drink. Expensive means costly. Take off means remove, and sweat means drops of perspiration. Students, this is a story about a very thoughtful and the hardworking boy whose name was Taro. He lived with his old parents and he worked hard to fulfill his parents' desire, his parents' wishes. Taro cut woods in the forest. Taro cut wood in the forest. He worked very hard, but he earned very little. One day there was a strong wind and Taro's father felt very cold and he wished to sip a cup of sake. Okay, and he wished to have to sip a cup of sake to warm his body, to warm his heart. So Taro thought to purchase the sake, and that's why next morning he went to the forest earlier and he started working harder than usual. As he was chopping the wood, at that time he felt thirsty and he heard the sound of the flowing water. He ran towards that direction and there he saw a waterfall, and when he started drinking the water, it seemed that the taste of that water that was falling from the waterfall was just like a sake. He became very happy. He brought the sake. He brought the sake in an earthen pot in a pitcher, and his father drank the sake. He felt very good. He became very happy. A woman from his neighborhood was also offered that sake, and she spread this news throughout the village. People started coming to Taro's house to drink the sake, but it was only one pitcher, so Taro decided to go and bring in another pot which was larger than the first one, and he went in the forest next morning. But when he went there, he became very surprised because he saw that all the villagers were present there having their pots and jars. Students, one of them tried to taste the water which was coming from the waterfall, but its taste was just like the water. So they felt that they were deceived, they were cheated, and they started searching for Taro. Taro hid himself behind the rock, and when all the people returned from there, he again went near the waterfall to taste its water. When he drank the water of that waterfall, it again tasted like the sake. So this story spread throughout the village, and the emperor of the Japan came to know about that boy. He called for that boy, he rewarded Taro, and he named that fountain, he named that waterfall, he named the most beautiful fountain fountain in the city after Taro. He did so to encourage all the children to obey their parents. This is the story which is given in this chapter. So students, open your book at page number 29 and see paragraph wise explanation. See the first paragraph. A young woodcutter named Taro lived with his mother and father on a lonely hillside. There was a young boy who was cutting wood, who was a woodcutter, and whose name was Taro, and he lived with his mother and father on a lonely hillside. All day long he chopped wood in the forest. Throughout the day, Taro used to cut wood in the forest. Though he worked very hard, he earned very little. Though Taro worked very hard, but he got very little money. This made him sad, for he was a thoughtful son and wanted to give his old parents everything they needed. He worked very hard, but he earned very little money. That's why he was very sad, because he was a very thoughtful child and he wanted to give all the things to his parents which they needed. He wanted to give his old parents all the things which they needed. One evening, when Taro and his parents were sitting in a corner of their hut, a strong wind began to blow. One evening, when Taro and his parents were sitting in the corner of their hut, then a strong wind started blowing. It whistled through the cracks of the hut and everyone felt very cold. The strong wind, it entered through the narrow gaps of the hut, and everyone who was sitting inside the hut, they felt very cold. Suddenly, Taro's father said, "I wish I had a cup of sake. It would warm me and do my old hurt good." And at that time, suddenly Taro's father said that he wished he had a cup of sake, and the sake would warm him and do his old hurt good. Means Taro's father, when he felt very cold, then he wished to drink a cup of sake. Okay, sake, students, sake is a Japanese drink, very popular Japanese drink. This made Taro sadder than ever. When Taro heard the desire of his father, he became very sad, for the heart warming drink called sake was very expensive. He became very sad because the sake was very costly. It was very expensive. It was beyond his capacity. How do I earn more money? He asked himself. He talked to himself how he would earn more money. How do I get a little sake for my poor old father? He decided to work hard than before. So Taro decided to work harder than earlier. He decided to work harder and harder so that he would purchase a little sake to fulfill the wish, to fulfill the desire of his father. Okay, students, now see the fourth paragraph. Next morning, Taro jumped out of bed earlier than usual and made his way to the forest. When he got up next morning, then he went towards the forest. He chopped and cut as the sun climbed, and soon he was so warm that he had to take off his jacket. He started cutting the wood. He cut the wood and immediately he felt so warm that he had to remove his jacket. His mouth was dry and his face was wet with sweat. And when he removed his jacket, because of the warmth, his mouth was dry and his face was very wet because of the drops of the perspiration. My poor old father, he thought, if only he was as warm as I. And at that time, when he felt warm, at that time he wished that if only his poor old father, he was as warm as he. And with that, he began to chop even faster, thinking of the extra money he must earn to buy the steak to warm the old man's bones. And thinking this, he started chopping the wood even faster than earlier, and he thought to earn the extra money, so that to earn the extra money to purchase to buy this steak to warm his father, to warm the old man's bone. Means he worked harder and harder, thinking that he would earn extra money, and from that money he would purchase the steak to fulfill the desire of his father. Okay, so students, that's all for today. In next video, I will explain the remaining part of this chapter. Okay, so that's all for today. You will write the word meanings. Some word meanings have been given in your note, in your book also. You will write all the word meanings in your notebook. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.